Hello, and welcome to this episode of Redefining the Customer Journey, where we take a deep dive into how anyone, from a local small business owner up to a corporate CEO, can build a modern business that is flexible and able to quickly adapt and evolve. Specifically, in this episode, we're going to be giving you some major takeaways on the topic of reporting, which I know is a personal favorite topic, both of myself and my colleague over here. With these easy to implement business and reporting principles, you're going to make more money while saving hundreds of hours by implementing a few simple steps. We've all seen businesses collapse because they were built on weak foundations, riddled with problems in their day to day, which are also unnecessarily complex to grow and scale. We want to help you build something that leverages your time and expertise for maximum effectiveness without sacrificing your customer experience. I'm Paul Sokol, founder of Be Pro, best-selling author of the Infusionsoft cookbook, which contains over 80 CRM-based business recipes for automated follow-up. And I've been helping small to medium-sized businesses under 50 million grow with automation since 2008.
And I'm Bobby Purcell, founder of LeadPass.com, which helps you set your business processes on autopilot to free up more time for sales. And I've been in the automation business world since 2016, primarily in the financial services space. And in each episode, we are going to cover one specific CRM topic to explain what it is, why it's important, common problems, and the best solution we've seen throughout our experience. And as we mentioned for today's episode, we are talking about reporting. So what is reporting? The tracking of key metrics across the entire business. And this is where the real money is made for any business.
Yeah, absolutely. What is reporting? It's those key metrics across the entire business. And when we say entire business, we mean the whole thing. I believe empirically that every business has 7 functions, and no matter how big or small you are, it's these 7 roles, these 7 parts, and you're going to have reporting across all of it. You've got your offer, your products and your services. Of course, you have the marketing, sales, and fulfillment, which is your customer journey. You have the operations, which is how do you market, how do you sell, how do you fulfill. You got your people, and then you have the money part of it. You must have key metrics across all those areas of your business to keep an eye on everything. So that's what it is. And why is this important? Well, I would say probably reporting is really the only objective indicator of success, assuming you're looking at the right stuff, which we'll talk about here. But the numbers don't lie. Numbers don't care how you feel. The number is the number. Uh, so why else is reporting very important, Bobby?
Yeah, so reporting falls into so many of these categories, and usually they come down to like KPIs, so key performance indicators. And the key characteristics of KPIs is like specific, clearly defined to measure a particular outcome. How you want to quantify it or the progress to get there. Is it doing what you expected it to do? Is it doing less than what you expected it to do? Is it achievable, relevant, and like in what time frame are we actually doing it? So the main thing about reporting stats, you do it across every single piece of your business, from how long on average it takes your worker to do X amount of processes, to how much your sales team is doing this quarter, to what product is getting sold the most at what time of day. So the reporting it's probably one of the most important things that you can ever track, and it is for are you having a successful business or not, and how are you going to grow next,
Mm-hmm.
and where should you spend your time?
Yeah. So right there, well, where you should spend your time. I think that's one of the reasons why reporting is so critical, is because it informs data-driven decision making. We're not making decisions as a business based on how we feel or whatever. Like it's a data-driven decision, and we're about to talk about some of the big common issues. But one other thing, especially because this is talking about CRMs in all these episodes, each core tool that you have is going to have its own numbers to watch, and it's important to understand that, and that's why reporting is really important, because you need to know what part of each tool. Like we were looking at the example of lawn care in the last episode, talking about customer onboarding. There's metrics on each lawnmower that you have. How many lawns has it done, or how many hours has it been up, or something like that, and that's going to help guide you on like maintenance schedules and things like that. And when should we buy a new lawnmower, because the data says whatever. So anyway, um, that's why this stuff is important. So now, Bobby, let's dive into all the common issues that we see with reporting, because like anything else, there's great ways to do it, and then there's really bad ways to do it. So, what are some of the bad ways that we've seen?
Like this is like an endless rabbit hole that you can go down, because like one of the first things that you should really figure out is what you're trying to accomplish and what metrics you need to figure out to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm looking at advertising, for example, and I say, okay, I'm only paying 15 cents for a lead for a Facebook lead generation form. It doesn't matter if it's 15 cents or $20 million for that lead form to be filled out if you're not making a sale on the continuing down the process. So you have to be able to track every single stage of all of your opportunity stages, your pipeline stages, so that you can figure out, is this a metric that I need to be tracking? And what are the real numbers to where I'm profitable? Where do I make my most money? And where is my time spent? So not paying attention to the right numbers. An example would be the lead form filled out instead of how much does it cost me to have my appointments booked,
Mm-hmm.
and how many of those appointments are actually showing up, and how many of those are actually signing deals. So paying attention to the right numbers is by far the most important thing,
that's a huge takeaway.
and mapping it.
Yeah, that's a huge that's important, because you can pay attention to whatever number you want, but if it's not the right number that's driving the business, that's a huge miss. That's why getting to social, you will see people. There's a bunch of I like to call vanity metrics, or how many engagement or how many likes or things like that. Like yeah, that's important, but like that's not a key like revenue generating metric if we're looking at it from a sales context. If we're looking at it from a marketing context, okay. If we're looking at reporting on the efficiency of our marketing or how effective it is, okay, maybe the right numbers to look at are engagement and things like that. But then again, just depending on what you're trying to do, that's really important. Another common issue that I see is that people just report things the hard way. They'll have this number that they want to report on, or some kind of metric, but they spend so much time pulling the data, or they do it manually every single time, and you're just not going to want to do it. So like, don't report things the hard way, if you don't have to. um, is a huge I say a huge takeaway here.
So exclusively relying on humans for reporting and accuracy is another big, horrible no. So if I call up one of my salespeople and I say, hey, listen, man, you've gotten like 15, 20 leads this week and you have converted none to appointments, and you have had no conversations on the phone, and you have made no sales, they're going to say, I have been calling them all day, every day. I have called them in the morning. I have called them in the night. I have called them on my lunchtime. I have called them on the weekend. And there's no way that you can actually hold them accountable if they're saying you're doing that, if you're not tracking their KPIs and all of the reporting that's coming out of their VoIP phone numbers, their text messages, and their emails. Now, if you went back to that person after that conversation and said, well, Drew, I just looked at your phone logs from last week. They were not what we had talked about in this. So why did you make 0 phone calls when you said you made 25 phone calls a day for the last week? So exclusively relying on humans for reporting and analytics would be a huge issue for reporting. And the solution would be to have a very clear, concise dashboard, KPI metrics, that everything that's happening with all of your sales team and every piece of data that they're doing with their time.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be one.
Which is not to say that you cannot rely on humans for reporting and accuracy. Like, it's definitely, you definitely want that. It's like looking at fast food, they'll like check the temperature of like the soups or something every hour or something. Like, that's important. We can rely on the humans for that. But if you're 100% relying on humans to this, they'll eventually learn what numbers the leadership wants to see, and they'll kind of adjust the narrative of the data through that way. Which actually, that's another really important big problem that we'll see, is being able to fact check between the various systems. So like, if we say, like, a Facebook lead, for example, we got X number of leads during the week at this cost, but then inside the CRM, we're seeing Y number of leads. If there's like a huge disparity between that, there's something to go ahead and look at. Which that's also another big issue is only paying attention to the CRM numbers. CRMs are great, we love them, but there are other things other than a CRM that you need to look at. I mean, a CRM is a tool just like anything else, and if all you have is a hammer, every problem's going to look like a nail. But you shouldn't do that. So CRM numbers are important, but you also need to pay attention to like the other parts of your business here. Um, so I guess let's start talking about the best ways to get good reporting here. And we're gonna sound. I'll start because we sound like a broken record here. With I think we've mentioned this in almost every single episode up to this point. But planning. Consider your reporting when you are doing your planning. Because if you know that you're gonna want to be looking at some kind of a thing, factor that into your planning. Even if it's something as simple as, okay, cool. Well, you know what? At this point in the automation, let's like leave a note in the CRM because we know we're going to look at that. It just being having a little more foresight when you're planning is critical to get good reporting.
And when you're talking about that, like from the start, you should have a clear, concise idea or metric about what you think, success is. So how do you validate success? What would actually be the numbers that would say, okay, I'm happy with this result? Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about like lawn care, like we were doing in the last episode, if I know that it should take an hour and a half to do this lawn and my killer team is doing it in 45 minutes and everything is done, I know that they're doing it great if they do all the SOPs properly. But if they're taking like 3 hours to do the same thing and there's no real challenge that came up within that time frame, that would be a failure, mm-hmm. right? Especially for the planning of resources. So it just goes back to planning very properly and making, what is your definition of success and what would your KPIs have to be to say, okay, this was done properly or this was not. And there's always going to be intangibles that you can't really rely on numbers for, like how did I make that person feel? Or, like did they leave us a 5-star review? I guess you could technically do that with a KPI, and if they come back, they were probably happy. But for the most part, you can track most things. So.
Mm-hmm. And that brings up a really good point about getting clear on how you want to validate success, because no two businesses are the same. Even if you're even if you had like Johnny's Lawn Care and Bobby's Lawn Care, their numbers, they might be even measuring the exact same numbers, but not everybody's going for the exact same stats. It's like health, right? If I have a heart rate, if I have a low heart rate, maybe that's good or maybe that's bad depending on what I'm doing. If I'm a high performing athlete, my resting heart rate can be very low compared to if I'm like, super overweight or something like that and I have a low heart rate, that's really bad. So uh, the best solution for reporting and a takeaway I would say is to not necessarily look at the numbers in a vacuum, but remember that like everything is all kind of, it's a whole picture of everything, which one thing I definitely recommend doing is roll up your CRM data points and your other systems into just a higher level scoreboard, just so that way you can see all at once in, one or a couple of places very easily all of the stuff. And that'll give you a whole picture of it. Because even like the blood pressure, like is it good, is it bad? Well, in a vacuum we don't know. Is this person like a world-class athlete, or are they fused to their couch because they haven't moved in 6 months? Every business is different in their reporting here.
The other nice thing is if you have tangible numbers, you can hold people accountable for their actions. Say, hey, Steve, we walked through all these numbers for you for last quarter, and we saw that you were below, 20% in your sales targets. Well, we also noticed that you had 50% less outbound calls. So here's the discrepancy. So how do we increase these numbers? And this is why, right? And, they could have had something going on in their home life or something else, but if you can lead the conversation with the numbers, they don't feel attacked, right? So, hey, John, you did like 4 lawns yesterday and 5 the day before. Normally you're supposed to be doing 6 a day. Here are the numbers. What's going on? So within reason, it's a really easy conversation to have if you have all the data, right?
Yeah, and the other thing too is that be aware that sometimes the data can be incorrect as well. So like if you're looking at
Yeah.
somebody's reports and all of a sudden the numbers tank or something, or there's like a weird anomaly, like maybe an integration broke and stuff isn't reporting, you know. So don't always so definitely lead and manage the team to the numbers, but again, be reasonable about it. Like find out what's going on. Oh, hey, yeah, I haven't been able to do, you know, my 8 lawns in a day because all that construction downtown. It takes me twice as long to get there than I normally do. Okay, cool. Now, as a leader, you can look at that information and then maybe say, okay, great. Well, we do still want to get up to eight lawns a day. So you know what? Let's go ahead and look at the map. Let's see if we can find a better route around the construction. Or okay, I guess that's just how it's going to be. So cool. So we're we should only see 4 to 5 for the next week or so until the construction, but next week let's get back up to 8. Like that kind of stuff, which gets back to paying attention to the right things and knowing the right numbers that you need to pay attention to, because the numbers are just they're one piece of the story.
Yeah, I think that covers pretty much all at a broad spectrum, Paul. Just wanted to say thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And if you have any questions, please let us know in the comments. Make sure you watch the next episode, which I believe is going to be daily operations and processes. And be sure to subscribe now if you haven't already so you don't miss it. And if you want to learn more about the customer journey, get Paul's free How to Automate Like a Pro mini course at the bottom. And if you want to get some cool pre-built snapshots, we're also there below for myself. And the links to get either one are going to be in the description. And we'll see you next time.